We already have 10 viewers, so let's go.
Hey. Whoop whoop.
All right, I think we are live. What is up, everybody? My name is Peter Daltondo here from Unfold, and we're back. We're gonna get back into streaming and having some fun. And so today, let me bring over the team here. We've got Andrea and Levi and Bo, Jordan, Phil, Victor, Evan, Eddie, Pavel, and Michael. And we're going to show off something that Phil here spearheaded a couple of weeks ago. On Fridays, we spend our time learning cool new things, working on some internal projects, and just trying to expand our knowledge and grow. And so Phil took it upon himself to dive in and recreate the classic board game of Battleship. And it's kind of mind blowing how it all works. So we want to show that to you guys today and kind of break down what it is that he did to make this thing happen and give you a little peek into the file. And also, if you go on to our Dribble page, you can go here and I think, which is the one, Phil? Is it the newest one that has the link for it, or are we getting ready to release it?
Both of them, I believe.
Okay.
Both the Battleship pages.
Oh, yeah. Here, play Battleship. You can actually clone this file in the Figma community and play, and it's super fun. So why don't I pass it over, Phil, if you want to maybe share your screen and walk through. And the Unfold team here, we're going to ask some questions along the way. We're going to try to break this down and ask really basic questions. So also, if you're in chat and want to ask something, let us know, and we'll try to cover that for you. And I'm just going to go full screen. And yeah, walk us through, man.
Sweet. Did that come through? You guys seeing that?
Yeah, we got you.
Awesome. So yeah, I kind of put together an initial page just as an intro for the game for anybody who hasn't played it since you were 9, and those who have never played. So it's a bunch of intro stuff about the game itself, some audio video conferencing, a plug for our company favorite around right now as a video calling platform. It's really fun to play.
As we say that on a Google call.
Oh, well, hey. We're on Google Meet. It's good. Google Meet's good too. So
we use them both.
Do what? We use both.
Yeah, we use both.
We don't hate. So yeah, essentially game board setup's pretty simple. You gotta have a Figma account to play. You choose whether you want to be player 1 or player 2. There are layers over here on the left for player 1 and player 2. You'll place your ships on the board. So basic knowledge of Figma required here. Click and drag. Rotate. You can rotate your ships. Place them on the grid. I got a little pro tip there. To see the grid, you can hit Control-G on your keyboard to see the grid. You'll enter present mode. So you and a player will do this together. 2 of you guys, you'll pick a board. Don't cheat and look at each other's boards. And then you hit play, present, and then you go back and forth. Calling out D5. Is it a hit or a miss? And you'll just place it on your board. So I'm going to give you a little preview. So here's a game board. And I got the instructions here as well. But when you're on a game board, you can just drag a ship on, just like this. Rotate them. Place them in the grid anywhere that you like. Once you have it the way you want it, you'll be able to just hit play up here in the corner. And you'll launch right into it. Actually create a little load screen to kind of make this thing feel a little bit like a video game.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think I saw this the last time that we jumped in and played.
Yeah, it's not actually loading anything. It's just for effect. I animated some of the components and stuff using interactive components. This is all like an interactive component hodgepodge in Figma. So I had a really good time playing with that. So yeah, once you get in the actual board, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Scale up or down to fill. So once you get in the actual board, you see my board's over here. So as my opponent calls out something, maybe it's a miss, maybe it's a hit, but all these things work and hit or miss. And then on the opponent side, I can call out. Once I click a square, it'll give me the option to, is it a hit or a miss? If it's a miss, so sad. If it's a hit, boom. Get on a roll, and then I can mark it off my graveyard down here. So in this case, I got 3. So you can ask your opponent, did I sink the submarine or the destroyer? And It was the submarine indeed.
Well, right. And
So,
just to kind of pause there for a second. So, I mean, really, this is exactly the same as though you had the physical game in front of you because,
yeah,
you're going to call out E5 hit, your opponent goes, and then F5 hit, and then G5 sunk. And then from there, you're going to know, hey, it's either the submarine or the destroyer.
right.
And I think last time we said, oh, you sunk the sub, and then you mark that off down there, and so you see that in the graveyard, and you're able to track it. And I mean, this is a completely digital recreation through prototyping on how this works, and then you can just reset and start up a new game.
That's it.
So maybe, or anything else you want to share on this, and then maybe the team can jump in and we can kind of ask some like dissection questions around this.
Yeah, the only thing I tried to solve for in this, because it is like a prototype based thing, you're having to actually put stuff on a board, and then you're actually gonna have to delete it off to start a new game. So one thing I kind of had to think through was, what's that process look like? So once I've got all these ships, say, on my board and my game's over, when I come back here, everything's gonna still look like this because the prototype mode is the only place that it's holding all of your hits and misses. So once you come back here, you can just select all these, delete them, and then over here in the layer panel, there's a layer called dupe, reveal, and ungroup. So I can dupe it, reveal it, and ungroup it, and then I'm ready to go for another game.
Very cool.
So that was kind of how
I had not seen that because I know we were playing around. Yeah, I know we were playing around with something else, trying to figure out how the heck you reset it. Not necessarily this, but yeah, that's I would not have thought of that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where it's super cool, and I love the way your brain thought of all this stuff, because I mean, essentially, you had to create a design system for this and build out all the variants and components, which seeing here, but you've got to think through those problems, and I think that's one of my favorite things with design systems is it's kind of like chess. You need to think two moves ahead. So, okay, what's going to happen when this thing occurs? What's my solution for that? So even something as simple as starting a new game, you dupe, you ungroup, and you're kind of reset to go again. And so just walking back a little bit one more time before we dive into some of the design aesthetics, each player comes in. So if I'm player one, I only look at the player one page. I'm cheating if I poke my head in at player two, and then each player is going to hit the play button up there next to share once they click on their board, and that's going to initiate the prototype or the game mode here. And so I'm assuming it plays here. Does it play for a certain amount of time and then transition, or do they have to click something to move that over?
Oh, the load screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only like 5 or 6 seconds, and it'll automatically transition. Yeah, so if your Figma loads, it has to load the prototype for 5 or 6 seconds, you'll never actually see the load screen. So that's probably why you didn't see it when we were playing together.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see. Anybody have any questions before we start jumping in? Vic.
Oh, my bad. I was going to ask a question about like jumping in. Like,
well, let's jump in then.
Okay, so like I'm completely like oblivious and new to like auto layout, components, smart, like all that fancy mumbo jumbo UI stuff. I just make pretty pictures, So I guess the most basic thing, and it blows my mind every time I play it, is how do you get those like the blocks to like to have a hover state? Like that's crazy to me. Like there's a design program. Like how do you, like, it feels so like fledged out. Like I don't know, just like little details like that. So if you could go over that.
Add-on question to that, or maybe it's just to clarify. You can only play this in the prototype mode, right? You can't play this in the layers panel.
Correct. Yeah, got to go into prototype mode. Yeah. Yeah, Vic, that's a good question. Actually, building all this out, I was I did this as also an exercise in kind of testing the limits of Figma's new interactive components feature. How many interactive components can I embed in one another and still accomplish like a finished product that works? So it was I kind of started by just creating I just created a big square board. And each one of these squares, I discovered like, okay, I want there to be a hover state on this. And so I went back, I created a component for a square. And then I had to create a variant of that. inside that component. So there's variants over here on the right sidebar. So I created a hover variant. I created a like a clicked variant, like an active variant. And then I had to embed some other like fun interactive sauce in there to make it all work.
So what, if you can, I know it'll be nonsensical here, but just to show people how you make that new variant. So if you can kind of walk us through that of, you start with a shape and a grouping of layers or a frame, and then what's kind of the next steps of that?
Yeah, so I kind of knew that this is what I wanted my, my board kind of background to be, my little square. So I have this kind of light blue square. It's like a 20% opacity of a blue. And so I can create a, let's see, I'm going to create a component out of this, duplicate it, and then I can highlight those. Actually, sorry, I'm just going to go straight from my base component. So from my base component, I can just create variants right here. It's going to give me that little outline. And then on my hover state, I can just add, say I want it to be 40% on hover. And then I'll title each one of these. So my first one over here, I have invalid names. You caught me off guard doing this. I'm going to do it.
It's live, baby.
I'm going to do it from scratch, dude. I'm going to do it to be totally different. Okay, so I've got a pink square now. I want this to be 20%. I'm going to create a component out of this. This is my little grid piece, right? Add some variants. This is going to be my hover variant. So I'm going to actually call it hover over here in my variants panel. And I'm going to call my initial one, it's default by default. So that's good. My hover variant, I'm going to go to 40%. And then I actually have to go into prototype mode if I want to add this interactive component. And I know this is still in beta, so not everybody who has Figma is going to have access to interactive components. I'm sure it's probably going to be live publicly soon. It's pretty well fleshed out. I haven't found a whole lot of bugs. It's working pretty well. But if you do have access to interactive components, you can go over to your prototype mode inside of a variant like I am here. And I can actually add this prototyping node to my variant and apply this as a while hovering action. And so then when I hover on that in prototype mode, it's going to actually fade into that other color as long as I have it on Smart Animate.
Hey, Phil, do you need to have interactive components in order to play?
I think you do.
Yeah, there's if you go on to Figma Community, and I dropped a link in the chat so you guys can jump in there to the Figma Community, but you do have to have interactive components. Yeah, there's a little thing right there. This file has to have interactive components to ensure it works in your file. So, yeah.
But it seems like they've been pretty open to allowing people into the beta that want to try it. So they have a join the beta link, which I think is just a form to fill out, and they can get you in there within a day. So it's cool to have it anyway to test it out. But once you actually have this interactive component made, like we just did here, let's see if it'll let me just pull it up and we can test it. You can see when I hover over that, it turns that darker fade. Boom. The basic interactive component. And then if I want to put this onto a board space, like I did up here, I could just duplicate this. And we'll bring in some auto layout. So I can add an auto layout to this. I'm going to make a row of these things. Shift A is going to be your hotkey for auto layout. Or you can hit auto layout over here, a little plus sign. By default, looks like I have about 5 pixels in between. I'm going to make it 4. And then I can just Command D, make a row, duplicate that. I can actually apply auto layout again for my vertical rows.
This is where I think auto layout is both incredibly powerful, but also somewhat infuriating because it becomes this like inception of auto layout within auto layout within auto layout. And it's probably the biggest learning curve when you're getting started with auto layout, because once you master it, it makes sense and it clicks. But when you're initially starting off, it's like, wait, why can't I get this section to move the way I want it? Or why is the spacing here off? And it's like you have to make your brain think a little bit differently of how to set up that, and knowing when you need to start a new auto layout group based on a new grouping of layers and things like that. So don't give up on it. It could be frustrating at first, but I promise once you get your hands dirty with it a little bit, it really works out.
So true. Yeah, I think we've Evan and I have infuriated many a teammate embedding endless auto layout layers inside of auto layout layers.
The best is usually when we go to like drop something in, like, here, what if you just put this thing over there, and then it breaks the whole file and we're all losing our
like,
minds.
I'm gonna draw up. I'm gonna up.
Yeah,
nope,
that.
up.
It's like dropping an image into Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Basically. But once
it's
set up,
really
like,
fun. Yeah. I would say it's really fun to do that on purpose to Jordan. He really enjoys it. Just go and grab his logos and just put them in a whole bunch of auto layout containers.
So to kind of backtrack into how you set up the variants for this, you've got your default state, you have a hover state, then you've got a click state.
Well, I don't have a click state yet. I can add
Not
that.
yet. No. Yeah, I'm kind of just going
you
through the
mean
different
in
ones
Battleship.
that you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and so actually for Battleship, in order to get this little dot, I tried to get this effect of like when I click it, I want this dot not just to appear, I want it to like appear and scale and then bounce. So I had to do some a little bit more kind of some embedding of auto layout components. So I created a another. This was more of a gosh, these weren't interactive components as much as just variants of like a tiny version of the circle that I needed, and then like a blown up version. And so then I can animate those inside of another auto layout component elsewhere to make it pop up in here. So you'll see that inside my blue mists section, I'm actually pulling in one of my, what I called my shots over here on the right. I've actually got that in this here. So that actually exists also in these other ones, but it's just hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it starts getting like you're layering in these like different variants. It's where you can really get experimental and discover some pretty cool things that interactive components allows you to do.
Well, that's where you can get into what is it, like smart layout or auto layout or smart animate, where it's going to see that it was there, but the opacity was at 0. And then if it's at 100, the other thing, it knows to just automatically fade in that element, and it creates that simulation of what feels like it got thrown into After Effects or something.
Yeah, and so I can kind of do a simplified version of it here on these ones that we created. I can say that I want this circle to maybe get to maybe around this size, and let's say I just want to make it blue because that's going to hurt your eyes, blue on pink. So let's say I want to do that. I want it to be centered, and this is going to drive me crazy because I probably drew a rectangle that's 59 pixels, and that's cool.
If it's 59, do you go to 56 or 64?
Don't do that to me.
8 pixel crew.
8 pixel grid, bro. So I've got the circle where I want it to be at the end, so that kind of lets me know where I want that state to end after my click state. So I'm going to want to add a third state here for a final. Let's say I want the final to have, I don't know, I want it to go black. No, I don't. I want it to go back to what it was originally, but now it's going to have this blue dot, right? So I'm going to need to shrink this blue dot and make it invisible on the other ones, but I want it to still be there so that when I smart animate between these, it's going to then appear and grow. And I can apply, like, instead of an easing, like an ease out function, I can apply like an ease out back, and it'll kind of pop back. So I can shrink this down to say, somewhere 6 pixels and put the opacity at 0. And I just double tapped 0 on my number pad. But you can also do it over here. 0.
I did not know that was a hotkey.
Hotkey, dude. 000 0. I think if you hit 0 once, it's 100. So yeah. 000 0. There you go.
You didn't have to scale the first one, did you? Because it's transparent anyway, right?
Technically you don't, but it just makes sure I maintain the state before being clicked.
Yeah.
I want to have a click where I click it at the end and it goes back to my original state. I do need to have it shrunk and small. So
That's okay.
So on click, I want to smart animate this and say I want to ease out back. And I'm going to actually shrink the amount of time each one of these takes, like 150 milliseconds. And then when I click my final state, I want to go back to my original state and I want to smart animate it again back out. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so there's my hover. And then if I tap, boop, tap again, boop.
Yeah, it's probably not going to show the shrink.
Yeah, you should slow down.
It does a little bit. Well, maybe slow down, but also because it's a screen share, it's probably not coming in at the frames per second. But I saw it for a glimpse on one of them.
I'm gonna slow it way down so you can see it.
Yeah. Usually with stuff like this, when you're like prototyping, just showcasing things, a lot of time I'll make it like obnoxiously long, so that way people can just kind of, hey, this is the thing that we're doing, and then there's another variation of it where it's like, here's the fast what it should look like in experience, but it overemphasizes, so we see it a little bit more.
So Phil, were you when you did it? So the three variants exist so that you can get that bounce. Is that what you're doing that for?
Yeah,
because you can just get that with two variants with adjusting the ease curve, right?
Right. You mean just the hover state and the click state?
I just mean like getting that little circle to bounce. Like I think you can just adjust the easing curves to do that, right? To overshoot.
Yeah. I put it on ease out back. And so it's an overshoot. It's like a custom preset, or not a custom, a default preset for Figma.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Where it lets you do that. But you can add, you can add some extra to it in the custom panel down here. And you could like make it major shoot back.
Oh wow, I didn't know they had the custom in there yet. That's really cool.
Wow, it's really elasticy, rubber bandy.
Can we get them sound effects again, Phil, when you play that?
Wow. At some point,
Figma's gonna have to add interactive sounds.
At some point, they're gonna have to have interactive sounds.
Was there a tweet about that?
There should just be you just record yourself and add the sounds.
I don't know why it sounds like I feel like I remember something about sounds. I'm probably wrong.
I think you can like do interactions with like by speaking into the prototype. I think, if I remember correctly.
I know you can do that in XD. I'm not sure if you can do it in Figma.
Yeah.
Speaking of XD, I'm going to be doing a stream with Andrew in May. So I don't know. We'll have to try to do some of this stuff over there too. Well, cool. Well, anybody else have any other questions? What else can we break down on this?
I was going to ask. So I know. Oh, go ahead, Andrea.
No, you go ahead. No, you go.
Okay. I was going to say. So I know this is made up of like nested variants or components inside them. So you kind of end up with that whole like atomic design system concept where you've got like atoms, molecules, organisms, whatever. Mm-hmm. How intentional is that beforehand, and how much of it is just like reactions figuring out on the fly?
Yeah, I think not as much beforehand, because I'm kind of, as I'm designing, I'm thinking about, okay, how am I going to want this to behave? And so a lot of times I'll have a component that I'm using, and then I have to kind of backtrack, and I'll have to add in those variants into a component to like think through how it's actually gonna respond when I click it or hover over it. So I would say more of it's kind of on the fly, and kind of hashed out as I go.
Yeah, that's cool, because at least auto layout and I guess the variants make it pretty easy to like adapt and adjust those things. If you like end up needing to like add a variant or something, it's all pretty flexible. So
yeah,
cool stuff.
Yeah,
it's all yours, Andrea.
Oh, go ahead, Andrea.
I had two questions.
Okay.
Number one, why Battleship? And number two, can you show us how you made that cool little loading screen?
What was your first question?
Why Battleship?
Why Battleship? Okay, that's a really good question. I think, and I actually, after I launched this in the Figma community, I saw that there's already like 2 other battleships in there. And I was like, well, that's okay. but Battleship seemed to be a game that would test the limits. And number one, I played it when I was a kid, and it kind of came to mind as like, hey, this would totally work with interactive components really well. And so the idea just kind of came to me as like, I need to test and see how far I can push this to make it work and see if I can actually get a working game built in a design tool. The loading screen was kind of an afterthought. After I had the game, I was like, it'd be kind of cool to like test a little bit more of interactive components, specifically some of the things that are just delay. So like there's no everything's based on delays. So Figma doesn't have animation timelines, and so the way they get around doing that, and the way you can kind of hack a timeline within Figma, is to add a bunch of delays. And so for like the loading bar, for example, I have, what is this, 5 different states of the load bar, and these are all just different levels of that little rectangle filling the space. But I have different delays in between each one of these to make it look like it's almost like on some sort of animation timeline, where it loads at different speeds. But really, I just slow it down based on delays within the prototype mode. So I have like a millisecond there, and also the delay and then the ease itself. So I might make the ease super long. So this is like 1.5 seconds of ease. This one's got 2 seconds of ease. So it makes it look like, it's actually a game kind of loading something. And then I also did this interactive component situation where I animated in my ships from the game itself, and I just moved them across. So you can kind of see left to right animation here. Again, it's just based on delays. So I just move it from top to bottom over the course of, I believe it's 10 seconds. And because each one of these ships is a component in itself, I can create one position interactive component, and then I can sub out what ship I'm using in every one of those, and it'll apply the same animation to each one. So that's how I have all 5 of my ships being animated and moving around the screen here.
So real quick, just to show people what that means. So, because I think that's also really interesting that oftentimes we look at it and go, okay, animate everything and animate it on the primary board. And it's not. Everything is animated at the variant and component level and then just brought in. And so when you're saying like, what do I do to switch out that ship? You're going to click into it, and then you can change the ship component. So if you click in, now what you see is here on the right side where it says ship, all of those ships are tagged as, it looks like board component / ship, and then it would be / 2 cruiser, 3 sub, etc. And so all you have to do is go in and modify those. And then is it just animating down and then it animates back up? Like it's just a vertical loop?
Yeah, I actually have it. I don't even think it loops because I was just having the.
Oh, right. It only animates
for like
long
6
enough.
seconds. Yeah. So technically it would just stop. But I have it where it would, you won't ever get to that point. But yeah, if I were to play this, you're just going to see these ships all move down the screen together. Let's see if I can kind of show that real quick. Let's see if it works. If I jump in.
Can you stretch out the height of that to make them go at different rates because they're traveling different distances?
I believe, let me see. I don't know. I haven't tried that, but I think you probably could.
Otherwise, I wonder if you'd have to like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you can.
That doesn't make any
Racing
sense.
now.
Discovering stuff on the fly.
Yeah, so you basically, each one of these animates for a specific time period. 10 seconds, it has to get from top to bottom. And so if I make the bottom longer, it's only still got 10 seconds, and it's got to get a longer
Right, from point A to point B.
So it'll go faster.
Yeah.
And if I want these, and I can get them to go all different directions too. I mean, I can rotate these things around and have them shooting all over the board, which is kind of what I did in the load screen. They look like they're going all over the place.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I mean, what I love about this is that like all of this stuff is doable, sure, but the level of thought and planning, I feel like this sort of hurts my brain to go, okay, yeah, you just put all of this stuff together. Like I could hover, I could click, I could hit or miss, I can animate these things, like it's really cool to see. And for anybody watching, what I love about this is now it's like, okay, how do we then think about this from maybe projects that everybody's working on and go, what could we apply and do there? Because one of the things, like we have a client right now, I can't say, so I'm going to say LS. And so the team knows, and like we've done a lot of stuff where the client was saying, hey, we want to see animations. How would we make this thing come to life? And once you start thinking outside the box, like you said, Phil, of maybe how do you hack some of this stuff, that, yeah, sure, we could have, Michael or somebody, we could toss it in Webflow and we could do some things there. But even just to get initially an idea out there, we can do some of this stuff in Figma. And if you think differently, there might be a way to animate that icon, or, the way you want sections to load or something like that. And I think stuff like this to practice and see, and just kind of test the possibilities, and not be limited to like, oh, okay, it's just a standard website or mobile app. Like this really makes you think a different way. And it's just so cool to like tap into your brain a little bit, Phil, on how this all came together.
Yeah.
One thing I love about the interactive components too is like, if you were ever to do this in Figma before, which I don't think you could before interactive components anyway, but you would have this giant big spaghetti mess of like prototyping wires going all over the place, and it would just be so hard to look at and use and all of that. But interactive components totally cleans that up big time. So now you're crossing wires, and your spaghetti mess is contained inside of the component board, the variant board, which is really, really epic. So
yeah, I think that's been one of the nicest things, is having that kind of consistency, because some projects require different levels of prototyping. You get some people that just want to see, just show me what the next screen looks like, and they just want to click through to that. And then especially sometimes when we work with dev teams that need everything very detailed out and whatnot, where it used to be, okay, everywhere that there's a button or a link, you'd have to create some kind of new page. Like, remember when we used to do this in InVision, and if you wanted a hover state, you needed to clone the page but change the button and then go to something, like, it was insanity. And I think that's one of the biggest things now that has gotten so much better with prototyping, is that we can simply kind of set it up, and like you said, Levi, it's cleaner. There's less spaghetti going all over the place, and you're not as worried. Like, my biggest complaint with InVision now is there's probably so much stuff in there that is irrelevant and has been removed from the project, or it's old or outdated. And so now having the source of truth here in Figma, but being able to just set every button to be a hover, or every hyperlink to have its hover state or whatnot, being able to do that at like a universal level, and then anywhere in your prototype, only that component changes, makes it so simple to do that kind of like high fidelity feeling prototype, when it really just took you 10 seconds at the beginning when you set up your buttons. But now it looks like you've refined this everywhere in the application. It's really, really cool.
I feel like it really helps it's going to help a lot more for developers too.
Yeah.
Being able to like put together a prototype for a web page, and I can have all of my states like active. They can test my web page, my homepage layout or whatever. And yeah, like you said, the hover states are all there. I can do animations embedded in there, and it all like works, and they can kind of get the idea of all the different states and how it interacts with each other.
Yeah,
So,
we just did it. Andrea and I just did it for a project. And that was one of the pieces of feedback that the client gave, was like, a form that we built out in interactive components was like actually usable, and it mimicked the actual like animations and the way it would respond, and like all this stuff within the form. The next step is going to be getting actual type inputs for Figma, which would be really, really cool.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
It's funny because his exact feedback was, my developers are going to love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Phil, I got like 3 questions actually for you.
Wow.
The first one is going back to the loading screen. I was just curious, you have the ships kind of moving the full width across its parent element. I was just curious if for the loading blocks, the pink loading blocks, if you could do the same thing, or if there's a reason why you wouldn't be able to maybe have the loading block start outside of its parent element, and then over the course of, say, however many milliseconds, it move all the way into it, so you didn't have to create maybe 4 states.
You could technically just start at, have one that's empty, one that's full. The reason why I had like those 3 intermediary ones was so that I could mimic like, it's
gotcha.
slowing down for a second. Oh, it's sped up. It's loading again. Kind of mimicking that like old game.
Definitely. Okay, that makes sense. I was just curious. My second question would be, we were talking about how these animations will be good for developers. Do these kind of interactive components, do those get spit out into the inspect tab too?
It's a good question. Do you mean like the code for actual animation?
Yeah.
Probably not. I haven't looked, but
Great question.
But
no.
I
mean, it does help just to see that, what easing you're doing and how many milliseconds it's going and how far it's moving and things like that.
Dude,
So
it doesn't give you the code, but it gives you the information around it.
Yeah, it gives you the curve and the duration. So
that is nice.
With the curve too, being able to have the custom curves, technically you could even go from that top one to the bottom one using curves, just by how you're deciding to ease it, and cutting out the middle too. But and that would even help to your second question too, like with the information that it gives for the code. So in the inspect panel. But yeah.
And then Phil, my third question was, and I think everybody wants to know, do you have another game on your mind that now that you've done this, that you think you may want to make?
Any other game I've thought of so far has already been done. So I gotta think
not by
about
you. Not as good as you.
Dude, is there like Settlers of Catan or like Ticket to Ride or something like that? That'd be epic.
Settlers of Catan's already in there. It's been in Figma for a long time, but I don't know if there's been an update with interactive components. I haven't checked it, but there was an early. It may have been put together by the Figma design team. Actually, I can't remember.
I know it was one of the earliest ones when they announced the community. I remember Settlers of Catan was one of the first kind of out.
Can we ask viewers to like comment and request games?
Hey.
Yeah.
I think
you could probably make like
impressed.
Monopoly or something like that. Put houses on things. Super easy.
I think or like
like Space Invaders.
Dude.
or maybe Call of Duty Warzone. I think Phil could probably make.
we want to be able to Nuketown in Cold War with interactive components. So there's your next project, Phil.
I'm waiting for some kind of joke to come to me about development for Warzone with that. It'll happen. It'll happen.
Phil, I got one more question. So I've heard from a lot of the team members that you cheat. So can you just show us how you cheat in this game?
Yeah. So he keeps his own component of the board, the opponent's board. That way he can watch exactly what you're doing. So
that's right.
This is actually
red-handed.
Yeah, this is actually a library, and the only piece is the other player's board that he activated. File.
There's like a secret layer in the back that if you click the hidden pixel somewhere, it reveals their map.
Yeah, a really tiny version.
Oh man.
Oh, that would actually be really cool.
You could totally game genie this thing, dude, and just make a component of player 2's board and put it on your player 1 and watch
So this game has cheat codes, you're saying?
You can build in some cheat codes. Some game genie.
Up, down, control shift.
Hey,
custom build cheat codes.
Is Ben Frick in
Alt
chat
F4.
the one that's been doing all that cool 3D stuff for you, Levi?
Yes, he
Ben,
is
that is
chat. He's been doing some
fantastic,
super cool
man.
stuff.
We've all been geeking out over it.
Yeah. Shout out to Ben. He's a killer 3D designer. So
Yeah, that stuff's looking amazing.
Well, cool. Well, hey, anybody have any other questions or breakdown on this? If anyone's watching in chat and you've got questions, let us know. And then, we'll maybe, I think we were saying, because the game can be kind of long, maybe we'll do a hunt for first to sink a ship or something. And then I know some folks are going to be peeling out of here at 5, and a few of us may stick around and play a game or something.
I have one last question. And I want to dissect Phil's brain a little and just ask about like process order. was like, what was your method here? Did you start out with the components? Did you start out designing the whole board? Like, where did you start? Walk us through that.
Started with the squares like we did over here in the game components. I literally started. I looked at a picture of the old Battleship game, like a Google imaged, Battleship game, and it was all, all the memories flood back. And I'm like, so I made these the rows of A through J and 1 through 10, and then did all my rows and squares. And then I started thinking through, what a hit and a miss, the hover of that looks like, and then building my ships. So that was kind of the process. So after I had the hit or miss dynamic or mechanic in there, I added in the ships on top of it and made sure that they could also have a hover and a hit state. So that's kind of these different areas of a ship. So I had to create a component for like the front, for a back of an aircraft carrier, for a back of a submarine, for a middle of a ship. So every one of those pieces had to be accounted for, with each of their states.
Hold on, I missed it. Why? Could you have just made the ship shape and then put the little like marker on top of it, layered on top of it, instead of like making the ship into individual pieces, or not?
That's a good question.
Probably not, because you would need to click each individual grid square to make a selection.
Yeah, I wanted the grid squares to be the same size as each piece of a ship. So the grid squares I built them on 32 pixel like square grids, and so every piece of my ship is also 32 pixels. So it can drop perfectly on top of the grid square that's already there. On top of that, because I built it this way, you could technically take Battleship and make it your own, and you could build whatever size ships you wanted. So you could make a super ship of many pieces and add
That's
it to
why
your
I
game.
never sank your ship.
Can you only build the ship vertically, or can you add horizontal elements to it, like little
just did
things sticking? Well, like sticking off the side or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
He wants a T-shaped ship.
Yeah, a T-pose ship.
Technically, I built padding on them, so you can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to fit in that 32 pixel guy. So
yeah,
not really, but
I mean,
like
you can, but you can't. Yeah,
you can, but it won't look as complete.
If the padding doesn't haunt your dreams, then you're not a real designer.
Right.
Hey
Where
Phil, I
can we
know.
find the link to download this to play it?
Yeah, if you search the Figma community for Battleship, let me just see, because there are 2 other ones in here. Yeah, we got this one was an old one. I saw this before. This is before interactive components, and then this is one that just came out recently from what's this guy? I can't pronounce his last name, but Adam Przowski. He's got a different approach. I would definitely you guys check out his approach. It's really interesting how different designers would totally think about the same game and build it completely different with the same tools.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check out that one, but that's where you can find mines.
Yeah. And if you for some reason can't find it in the community, check out our Team Dribble page, dribble.com/unfold. And Phil's got a couple posts up there that have some links to it as well.
And I am dropping the link again in the chat just in case anyone wants to just copy that and go to the Figma community spot. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, who's going to challenge Phil and not watch the stream and see who's going to win?
Phil should share his screen, though. That way people can...
Oh, snap. I got to share mine. Okay.
Wait, but how's the opponent not going to see his screen?
Well... that's a good question.
Well,
just not look.
That kind of makes it fair.
Just put it on.
Phil's cheating.
Yeah.
As long as they're playing in their own full screen and not watching Hangout through the stream, they're good.
Who's in this file with me? I got Jordan in here. I got Peter. I got Evan and Pavel.
Well, I'm kind of hosting the visual here because I got you guys screen shared. So one of you guys.
I can jump in if Jordan or Pavel or whoever doesn't want to.
Go for it, Levi.
I jump in.
Have you guys played each other yet?
Yeah. We played one at a time.
Levi and I played over Slack one night.
Yep. Like the entire thing over Slack. It was
it took a long time because we were typing all of our E4s out.
Yep.
All right, Levi, you
You
want
guys wanna
player 1 or
place
player
a-
2?
You guys want to
I'm
place
on
a
player
friendly bet?
2. Actually, maybe I should be player 1. That way, I have the cheating screen. So
Okay.
okay, I'll be player 2. I'm already in there.
Okay, I'm player 1. I'm not looking at your
Sorry,
screen.
I don't know if you're swapping around or whatever.
All right, I'm gonna try to do sound effects while this goes on.
There you
Are
go.
you
gonna
gonna
turn the
do
voice?
color commentary?
Yes.
Okay, Levi, you're not looking at the live stream anymore, right? Because I'm
No,
not.
I've got Battleship covering it up. So just let me know when you're ready. I can't see anybody.
Here, I'm gonna switch it up so I can see both of you guys, so I know what's gonna hit or whatnot. Why won't this?
Should I share my screen too? Can I do that?
No.
We'll share.
Don't
Oh,
think so.
I guess I need to place my ships. I didn't place my ships.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's
Wait,
gonna be really hard for him to hit them.
I just won't place my ships.
Right?
Hold on.
You
One
can't
thing
hit
that
it if
never
it
happened.
doesn't exist.
Minutes.
Good luck.
Hey guys, someone needs to, third person needs to set up 2 components of both of their screens.
Oh, here.
Uh,
How do I do
we talked
that?
about that actually,
Genius.
didn't we? Like a viewing only thing.
Yeah. So it's like a viewer.
So you'd see them side by side of the.
Yeah. So you see both of
Oh,
them.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Boom.
B2.
2.0.
Eddie,
Oh my god.
Eddie, we can add in the little fire emojis anytime they hit the ship.
Oh yeah. And
Hey, what's up, Sarah? Good to see you in here.
hey, let's.
All
All
right,
right, Levi, my board's set to go.
Are you
I'm
ready? Ready.
Player 1.
All right, am I going first?
Yeah.
All right,
Do
Levi,
it.
let me get D4.
Oh, miss. Let me go with B6.
B6 is a miss. Shout G7. Oh wait, that's F. Hang on. G7, yeah.
Hit.
Hey. Hey,
See,
you guys can see
I
my
know- I
screen.
know
You know I
Phil's
haven't
got-
cheated.
Phil's got my screen right here. I know it.
The cheats are working for Phil.
Yeah. See, you guys can see him cheating live. Cool. I'm gonna roll with H2.
That's a miss, sir.
Man,
We're gonna go with F7.
that's a miss.
Mm.
E4.
E4 is a miss. G6.
G6. That is a miss.
Ugh.
Sitting over here waiting for sound effects and nobody's hitting it.
Let's roll with C8.
C8 is a miss.
Oh my word.
G8.
G8. That's a miss.
What?
I think Levi split his ships apart into pieces.
I did. I found it.
Custom ship sizes.
It's a much better strategy if you like divide each part of the ship up into different pieces and spread them all across the board. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah, but Phil's just over here moving his ships around or something. I can't hit anything. Let's go with G7.
G7. That's a miss.
Oh,
H7.
Direct hit.
there you go.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
All right. C2.
C2.
Direct hit.
Hey, let's go. I'm gonna catch up.
I7.
Game over.
Yeah, that's it. All right, what that was my
That's
battleship or
awful.
submarine.
That was your
So-
submarine?
Yeah. What was I on? Or are we ending right here or still going? We're ending?
I
No,
think
no,
some
no,
folks
keep going,
are
keep going.
wrapping up. We can either sink another ship or we can do something else.
Oh, you want me to sink another one of his? All right.
Oh man. Let's roll with C3 then.
C3. That's a miss.
Oh man.
All right. B3.
Miss. All right. D2.
That's a hit.
Yes. Sunk or no?
No. No way, buddy.
Wait, then maybe this is a good ship. I hope this is a good ship. All right,
let's
go for it.
I'm going C9.
Oh man, dude, that's another miss. Let's go with
Got my hopes up.
B2. I tried.
B2, that's a
B2.
hit.
Sync?
Nope.
It is really. Is this your carrier?
It's a carrier, bro.
Taking out the big one. All right,
That's
you're up.
what.
Oh, fire emoji.
Yeah, there you go, Eddie. I know that's
Nice.
Eddie.
I love it. I love it. Let's go.
I wish I could see
That's
what's
good.
happening right now. It sounds really fun.
Let's go I2. Oh, this is great.
I2 is a miss.
Eddie, I love that.
A1 or A2. A2.
A1 or A2?
A2.
That's a miss, bro.
All right.
F2.
Another miss. Let's go with E2.
E2. That's a hit.
All right.
C1.
Dude, that's another miss. And F2.
Sunk the aircraft carrier, my man.
All right. Sudden death. Next ship
right.
down.
Oh,
Wait, are we going by points or are we going by like actual ship count?
Let's do ship count. You can get
Ship
lucky.
count.
All right.
what about ship count? Okay, so am I up?
Yep, you're up.
All right, we're going B6.
Oh man, dude, that's another miss.
Ugh.
I love how Levi like makes you think for a second that it's hopeful. Like, oh man, you hit. Nope, that's another miss.
Oh man, miss.
I just love getting people's hopes up and then crushing their dreams later on. It's a ton of fun. F8.
F8. Again, the fire's in the way. I can't even see. Okay, it is. That's a miss.
Their ship's just cruising now. Levi, there's moving targets. You could hit something.
I got moving targets over here. Okay. I got H4.
H4. Hit.
Yes.
Ooh.
A1.
Miss. G4.
Hit.
Peter, don't you have any like big sploosh sound effects or something?
I probably do.
H4.
H4 is a miss. And then we're going to go with F4.
Direct hit.
Yeah, it's a hit. Man,
still
it's
alive?
really depressing when you're like down to the last two and whew. All right. 4.
Miss.
All right.
And then E4.
Miss. Let's go with G10.
Miss, my man. I4.
That's a hit.
We're getting down to the wire.
All right.
All right, a little T-Pain just for you, Andrew.
Yes, bring it. B3.
B3 is a miss. J4.
Good game over.
It wasn't auto-tune though.
Oh.
I don't think it's just your sultry
Oh,
voice,
really?
Peter.
It's
Yeah.
Hang on. I gotta fix it.
Well, good
Better late
game.
than never.
Phil.
Game over.
Good game, Phil.
Love it. Yeah, man.
Always a pleasure losing to you. So
Well, hey, Phil, this is awesome, dude. Super, super impressive putting all this together. And thanks for sharing a little bit on how this works, how people can play it. And if you can, go download this on the Figma community and, reverse engineer this file and see how you can apply this to some other things or some other games. And go from there. Well, cool. I know some folks are going to be dropping off. It's the end of our day. Is anyone sticking around and wants to do Among Us or something like that?
I gotta run and pick up some kiddos.
Yeah, I gotta head out.
All right, cool. Well, hey, we'll just wrap up for today. If you're in the stream, thanks for tuning in and joining us. We're going to be doing this again more often, as I'm realizing my OBS is probably on top of somebody's face at the moment. I'm over here. So yeah, make sure to tune in. I think we're going to get back into doing, I don't know, weekly or every other week kind of stream. Our brand team has some really cool and fun stuff that's probably going to go down like Friday mornings. And we're going to do a couple more of these as we just kind of share a little bit of us hanging out and how we do some of the, end of our week recaps and things like that. If there's anything we're allowed to share and show on clients, we may give a sneak of that stuff too. And just to plug our buddy Andrew in chat, stick around behance.net/live in 30 minutes. And he's going to be on doing the office hours show with, it's Nick Longo. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you guys tune in for that. And thanks for jumping back on. Excited to be back here on YouTube and getting this rolling again. And thanks everybody for hopping on and joining the discussion. And everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you all later. And I'm going to end stream in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.